B-sides or is it besides? What are B-side conferences? Many of you already know about B-side conferences and some of you may not. In this video, we're going to cover a little bit about what these B-side conferences are. We also got a chance to speak to BSides San Francisco's very own Reed Loden, who's been organizing this non-profit conference since 2016, and he gave us a rundown about what these conferences are, what to expect, what's there for our cloud security folks, and how we can make the best out of them. Now, what are B-side conferences? They are community-run conferences that are held all over the globe. They're by and for information security professionals. They're for conversations that span beyond confined time and space, and they're all about the intimate spaces and collaboration. And if you speak to the folks at B-Sides, it's where all the conversations are happening about the next big thing. Now, just a few fun facts. As of April 2022, there are about 725 B-Side conferences happening all over the world in about 198 cities and across 56 countries. B-Sides was born in the summer of 2009 when a few speakers were rejected for a major conference due to constraints of time and space. So these security professionals got together and created B-Sides with the intention of creating a community-driven event that can be enjoyed by all. B-Sides, and you can also say probably besides, is usually also run next to another major conference. For example, BSides San Francisco is run next to RSA. Fun fact, Cloud Security Podcast is going to be at both these events in June 2022. And B-Sides Vegas is held next to Black Hat and DEF CON. Each B-Sides is run a bit differently and they all have their own flavor. Now over to Reed to find out a bit more about the conference.
Yeah, so a little bit about myself. My name is Reed Loden, based in San Francisco, California. So I'm currently the Vice President of Security at Teleport. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. This is the first BSides San Francisco since COVID. And so, there'll be a few things different this year. So one thing that we're doing is we are requiring proof of vaccination for all attendees. And additionally, we are requiring masks for all attendees as well. So this is obviously something very different, but we want to make sure that we're doing our best to protect our participants as much as possible. And we've tried to make sure that we're using the outdoor space, especially during June. So we have a little bit more summertime and such, even though it's very cold in San Francisco in the summer, that at least we're outdoors more so and try to give that fresh air for the participants and such. Yeah, I would say that, the talks are very important, but don't spend all your time at the talks. And I say this for any of the security conferences. The concept of like LobbyCon or HallwayCon is just as important. I think that the networking with your fellow security professionals is very meaningful. I know that when I go to Vegas every year to Black Hat and DEF CON and BSides Las Vegas, is that I actually don't go to a lot of talks nowadays. I used to years ago, but I spend a lot of my time just catching up with people that I really only see like once a year in the security world. And it's building those kind of relationships is very meaningful, because if for some reason, like I have a need or a question about something, by having that relationship, I can then reach out to that person and say, hey, can you help me out here? And vice versa on them. And that's way more meaningful than just like learning one talk or something. I just want to make sure that you're taking the full experience. So we not only have lots of different presentations and talks happening. If you're lucky enough to get one of our workshop tickets, we have some really cool workshops happening. We also have our villages. So villages include the Lockpick Village, Crypto and Privacy Village. There's a hardware village this year that's new. We have a mentoring village, and there's another one that I'm totally blanking. IoT village as well. And so make sure to take a look at those. Really cool stuff there that are happening in those villages, where you can try to do some like hands-on experiments and try things out live, kind of learn those kind of things. Another big thing to take a look at is our Capture the Flag, our CTF. This is run by an amazing set of folks that have done this for us for free. Again, we're all volunteer run, 100% volunteer run. So they give up their time to building a CTF from scratch every single year. And it's different every year. We don't use the same challenges. In fact, the team actually open sources the challenges on our GitHub repository every year. So it takes them a while. They actually have to go and come up with new challenges, but it's really fun. We get lots of good feedback every year. It's actually open to anybody worldwide can participate during I think it's 48 hours that it's open, but if you need to be on site to win a prize. But if you're not able again to make it to San Francisco to BSidesSF and you want to actually participate in our CTF, please do feel free to go to BSidesSF.org/CTF closer to the event, and you'll be able to see the directions there on kind of how to participate. Yeah, so there's a few different talks. I went through the talks and just kind of looked at the ones that were kind of cloud focused that would appeal to me as somebody who deals with a lot of cloud security stuff as well. There's one talk on kind of attacking and defending infrastructure with Terraform. I think that's very interesting to think about it from the perspective of like everybody nowadays is using Terraform to manage your kind of doing infrastructure code to manage your environment. And so like, ways that you can use Terraform to supply that, and also ways that like Terraform can be bad if it's not configured correctly, type things. I think that's a great one to think about. There's another one called so you think you can secure your cloud red team engagements in GCP. I'm a huge AWS guy. I've been using AWS for a very long time, and so I'm not super familiar with GCP, and so that's meaningful to me. My new company uses GCP a lot. Besides it, we use both AWS and GCP. And so that's something that I actually will benefit from as well, is kind of learning more about GCP and kind of things that I can do to think about it from the attacker perspective there, so that I, as a defender, can kind of better secure my own infrastructure. And there's a third one I found interesting as well. It's called Go with the Workflow. And it's talking about like nowadays we have so many kind of automation tooling things that are workflow automation type stuff. Instead of us having to run scripts ourselves or do stuff that like these tools, we give them basically API keys or credentials into all of our other tools, and they basically allow us to, if something, it's an if then, if this happens here, then do this thing, then this thing, and this thing. And so, that's going to be very dangerous from like one tool having all the keys to the kingdom. And so thinking about it from like, how can you kind of secure those kind of tools there? I think all three of those talks that I at least saw, and there's probably others as well. So if I missed something, I'm sorry. But those three just caught my eye when I was kind of taking a look and see what's kind of meaningful from a cloud.
So if you are in San Francisco this year for RSA, you may want to go check out BSides San Francisco and get to connect with some of the awesome InfoSec community. There's also a really handy page, which I will link for you, where you can find out about all the other BSide events across the world, and you might just find one next to you. We would love to know if you have attended a BSides event and why you love attending them. And if you are going to be attending BSides San Francisco, make sure to come and say hello to the Cloud Security Podcast team, and make sure you say a big thank you to all the organizers and the volunteers who make these events possible. Thank you for watching this video, and we hope to see you at RSA and BSidesSF.